Secular humanism versus Christianity, I'm up for it. I'll do it. We could do it here again, someplace else. I'm up for it. I'd like to do that. Just going to leave that out. But in my last minute here, I got 1 minute left, right? But basically, okay. God in his infinite mind does not think in a sequential manner. It would not necessarily be required, because if he knows all things eternally, there's no sequence of thought projection necessary. And since God would exist in an atemporal sense, but in an ontologically one, then the issue of applying what would amount to an actual infinite of successive thoughts to God would be a non sequitur. It does not follow logically. So Mr. Tabash has not refuted this idea of God's existence, or the existence of a personal, timeless, ontologically prior being who can bring about the existence of the universe by an act of his will, his volition, through a decision. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, if you want a debate to be based on reason, then listen for reason, listen for logic. See if Mr. Tabash is going to give us sound, logical reasons why the argument I presented does not work, dealing with the actual argument, and also listen for the future atheists. See if they really understand what they're criticizing, because they don't.
It seems that Matt does not like the word evidence, because that is what I'm basing my arguments on tonight. And he talks about logic. Well, I think I've given logical arguments. He may not like the evidentiary basis for that. But in order for Matt to make purely logical arguments, it would have to be the case that to say God does not exist is a logical contradiction. It's not. You can say we exist, but God does not exist, and it is an empirical question, not an a priori question. It is a question that cries out for an evidential explanation so humans can assess the probabilities. Now, he just said that his Kalam cosmological argument didn't involve presuppositionalism, but then he said he would give me a list of the Christian presuppositions. Well, that's a little bit interesting, having your cake and eat it too. I should go to a bakery with him. And then the other thing he talked about was that this God time was not temporal but ontological. Well, that doesn't get him out of the dilemma. And he says that God does not think sequentially. Well, Matt has to prove that. He just can't say God doesn't think sequentially, so you can't accuse him of traversing an infinite. That's not proof. If Matt is correct that you can't have an infinite series of events going into the past, then you can't just create some bubble of God time where there was an infinite series of events going into the past before God said, okay, now 15 billion years from 2009 AD, I will create the universe. You still have that same infinite series.